What is up, guys? Private Eye Russ here. Welcome to another episode of the Private Eye Russ podcast. I'm your host, Private Eye Russ, owner operator of a full service private investigation security consulting company, corporate theft investigations, litigation support investigations, criminal defense investigations, long-term relationship or marital investigations. I give you a look into the past of the individual you might be linking yourself with forever, theoretically. Finally, if you're a man or woman who needs some personal coaching, personal development coaching, you want to reclaim your destiny and be the person you were meant to be, reach out to me and I will set you straight at Russ, R-U-S-S, at private, PRIVATEEYERUSS.com. That's privateeruss.com, or send me a direct message on X at privateeruss. All right, let's get into the story. This one's a doozy. Okay, so this is another one taken from one of my case files. And just a quick caveat, I do change names, dates, times, places. That's to protect the identity and privacy of the people involved. Also, it protects me from getting sued. All right, but also too, I tell these stories to entertain, but also too, some of them actually have some lessons that some of you could benefit from. So this one we're going to call duel. All right. Okay. So many of the homicides I've worked on are linked to litigation support or what's under the personal injury umbrella of negligent security. So negligent security, someone gets deleted someplace, publicly accessible but privately owned property, and so sometimes the victim's family may want to sue, and so to try to recover damages. So I get a call from one of my attorney partners. And a client, obviously, and a good friend of mine as well, too. Skip, won't put his last name out there, but he's a really good guy, very good attorney. Shout out to you, Skip. So he sends me an email, text messages, hey, when can we talk? All right, we set up a time. He always sends an email with details, then gives me a call. And so we talk about this case. A gentleman was deleted by Pew Pew, somebody launching projectiles at him, and unfortunately, he met his untimely demise at an apartment complex. And particularly in the playground area of the apartment complex, right? So, and the deletion occurred sometime after 1 o'clock. I think it was like 1:30 or something like that. So he wanted me to make sure the case had merit, and this is one of the things attorneys do. They want to make sure before they dedicate time and money, because some of these cases can be very, very expensive. Nothing attorneys do is free. Nothing they do is free, guys. So so they want to make sure that the case actually has merit before they go forward with the investigation and put their foot on the pedal. So he wanted me to go speak with the victim's mom and find out as much as I could about the story, and then maybe collect the names of any other potential witnesses, and kind of get to the bottom of it before he went forward. So a lot of times we'll get the narrative, the write up, the initial few paragraphs that the responding officers will write up. That's not the full police report. When it comes to homicides or deletions, detectives tend to keep that information close to the vest, because for obvious reasons. And so you can't really get a peek at that unless you get really lucky. Sometimes I've been lucky. A lot of times we have to just wait. So the initial one just said, okay, I responded to the scene at such and such a time. When I was there, blah 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 blah. I'll go into the police report, the narrative later, because that kind of gives a better snapshot. But I didn't get the narrative until after I conducted most of my initial investigation, talking to people and interviewing people, because even the narrative they didn't want to give out initially, right? So I talked to the victim's mom, sat down with her, gave her my condolences. Obviously, I always give condolences. Doesn't matter what the individual was like, doesn't matter what he might have gotten into or up to. Someone loved that individual, right? So I always try to be sensitive to the people who are left behind, because they're the ones who are suffering, right? So she's crying, and she's saying, okay, this is I just got a call, this is what happened, and my son is gone, right? Excuse me. So obviously he left behind his mother, he left behind his baby mother, and I think it was either 3 or 4 kids. And so these are people who don't have the support of a father, right? So, or a son, or a potential, husband, baby daddy, whatever the situationship was. So obviously, I have to get more information. So she gave me the names of some people that were there. She said she hadn't talked to them. They offered to tell her what happened, but she just didn't want to hear it at that particular time. Okay, fair enough. So I start reaching out to them one by one, and trying to find street people with their street names is always a huge pain in the butt. I don't know why everybody uses their street name, even on their social media. You can't find their name, and I guess that's by design, so they're more difficult to find if someone's looking for them for whatever reason, right? Maybe not necessarily through for any nefarious purposes, but who knows? Maybe they're dodging the IRS. Shout out to IRS. Always pay your taxes. All right, so I finally started tracking them down, and the first person I talked to, again, trying to get answers from people in the hood is always like pulling teeth, man. It's they're always worried that they're going to be labeled a snitch, even though I'll show them, look, I'm not a cop, I'm a private investigator, not a police officer. But okay, here we go, right? And so more and more people are just, I talked to them. I talked to one person who gave me some information. Look, everybody knows who did it. Everybody knows who shot him. We all know what happened. Just nobody wants to talk about it. She says, why don't you talk to the family of the other guy who was here? And I was like, wait a second, somebody else was shot? Yes, apparently someone else. And I finally just got this information after talking to like 4 or 5 other witnesses. And so someone else was also pew-pewed. Somebody hit him with some projectiles, but he was still alive and he was in a hospital. So I wound up to find out who he was. Obviously, he's in a hospital. He was in intensive care at the time. Talked to his mother and his baby mother, and they kind of gave me a better clue of what happened. Apparently, there was some kind of shooting or shootout or something like that happened, but they were not. They were a little bit sketchy on the details because nobody really told them what happened. They said, why don't you talk to the second victim? And I was like, can I? She was like, yeah, that's not something I would ever ask, just because it's incredibly invasive and most people are going to say no. Okay, so they helped me make arrangements. I go in there and speak with the individual. He was actually surprisingly coherent, considering the pain he had to be in. His prognosis was not good. All right, and so sat down and talked with him. And again, usually it's really, really difficult, but he took a lot of pride in the fact that he did not talk to the police when they came there and tried to interview him on several occasions. That was a point of pride. You know what? Look, he did. He held to his code. You know what I mean? So I'll say that much for the guy. And so here's what actually happened. Him and the other individual who was pew-pewed, the one who was DOA, who died, not dead on arrival, but he passed away there at the scene, had beef for decades. They hated each other from childhood, and there they were in their late 30s, and so they still hated each other. So they decided once and for all they were going to sort everything out by meeting and having, yes, a duel. No, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being hyperbolic. They arranged a duel. I don't know if they had seconds arrange things for them. I don't know what the arrangements were specifically. I'm assuming it was very specific because, who has a duel without specific, criteria, right, that has to be met. All right, well, so whatever. So, excuse me, allergies. Apologies. Been really bad lately. So, they decide to meet. We're going to meet at this time at the park. You're on one side, I'm on the other side. We're going to open fire and walk towards each other, and only one of us is leaving the park. Not even kidding. I swear to you, I'm not kidding. So as I'm sitting there, I'm getting a recording from this guy as I'm interviewing him, and I'm sitting there just looking at him like is this serious? Like is he punking me? No, he wasn't punking me. And so he says, one of their homeboys said, fire. and they just started shooting at pew-pewing at each other and walking towards each other. And he took pride in the fact that he got off his first pew-pew first, and they just kept walking at each other, and then he saw him drop, and they added a few more pew-pews, and then he collapsed. And he took a lot of pride also too, besides the fact that he didn't talk to the cops, that, if I pass away, at least I know I got him first. So this was real life hatred. Like this wasn't, I just don't like you, or you did something, or I got to get you back. No, this was deep-seated spiritual hatred that ended with both of their demises. Because yes, he a few days later he did wind up passing away. So when I finally did get to look at the narrative, I never did look at the police report because by that point we know that the case does not have merit. But I still wanted some answers. That's one of my curses. I like unwinding things. So. The police report talked about the two victims, but the police report didn't talk about the arranged duel. Said that there was a shootout between two people, which essentially was correct, but it was an arranged duel. Like I said, this was an unusual, to say the least. This was a bizarre motivation for two men losing their lives and families being shattered and that sort of thing. Or you could look at it on the flip side. There's two fewer people on the earth that would do something like this, like arrange a duel. Anyway, so this is your boy Private Eye Russ. Thank you again for tuning into the Private Eye Russ podcast. While you're here, while you have time, please click like, subscribe, share the videos, comment. I try to get into the comment section. I try to get into the comment section as much as I can. Sometimes I miss a few, but I try to answer pretty much everything that goes in there. So share. We're almost at 1,000. I think we're just under 1,000. Let's get over 1,000. Once we get there, then obviously we have to set a new goal for 2,000, and let's just keep trying to grow the channel and spread the word. The lesson with this particular incident or circumstances is, okay, guys, you shouldn't be fighting. So it turns out and I did find this out from the guy. It initially started over a girl years ago, from like when they were in high school. Like, I guess one guy messed with somebody else's girlfriend, and they just never stopped. They'd had, he said, at least 10 or 15 fist fights these guys had. So these guys really, really hated each other. Gentlemen, don't fight over women. There are more women on this planet than there are men. Do not fight over women. Don't engage with a person who wants to fight you for your girl. If you have a girl who, through her behavior, leads another individual to believe that he has a chance with her. Excuse me, sorry. That's a girl you need to walk away from. I don't care how pretty she is. I don't care that she does that special thing that you like so much, whatever it is. Not judging, just saying. That's the person you need to walk away from. I'm not fighting anybody over a girl. Now, I've gotten into fist fights over girls, not because I wanted to, but because someone else thought that I was trying to do something with their girl. I think I made a video about the first and last time I ever got drunk. That was not something of my own choosing. Someone attacked me. That's a different story. You have to defend yourself, obviously. But to carry on this type of beef for this long, they both lived in the same apartment complex. All their children, their baby mamas, lived in this apartment complex. Both of their mothers lived in the same apartment complex. Either find a way to get along, or leave each other alone, or move, go someplace else. This was an incredibly 100% preventable incident. Neither one of these men needed to lose their lives, but they did. Don't fight over women. If you have a girl that is toxic and she's causing you to get into incidents with people, and we have all seen that. Some of us may have experienced things like that. Walk away from that girl. If you're one of these ladies that likes drama, change your ways. Change your ways, because it's not worth it ultimately. And so that's the lesson for this one. Sometimes these cases have lessons, sometimes they don't. This one has a lesson. Avoid some of these avoidable conflict. Life is full of conflict anyway. I know as a business owner, as soon as I walk out of the house, I've got to have my sword and shield up ready to go, especially with the business I'm in. Sometimes the cases I work take me to some dangerous places. Excuse me. And I often have to deal with some very, very dangerous people. And so I've got to be on my toes. I don't need to be fighting over a girl. There are so many women. So don't do it, guys. Anyways, your boy Private Eye Russ. Please, again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, share. And it's your boy Private Eye Russ Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I'm out. See you in the next one.